It's the holiday season, and you're getting ready to think about what travel plans you may have in the year ahead. Well, we're going to help you if you're thinking about a Disney cruise. We're going to give you some help to how to think about it. That's ahead on today's Diz Unlimited DCL show. Hello and welcome to the Diz Unlimited's DCL show. I'm Chris Forbeck, one of the agents at Dreams Unlimited Travel. Thanks so much for joining us. Yes, we're going to give you a little behind the scenes look. The early part of the year, January, February, March, we call it the wave. In the travel business, it's called the wave because so many of you book your trips during that period. It's a busy time. And we know what happens. Y'all are getting together for the holidays and you're saying, okay, well, what should we do for the year? Well, we thought it'd be helpful to just walk you through, if you're thinking about a Disney cruise, how to think about and how to guide. I know sometimes it feels like herding cats, right? How to guide folks and get folks to think and get you all on the same page. And here with me to walk through all of this is Dreams Unlimited travel agent and my friend, Elaine Edwards. Hello, Elaine.
Hi, friends.
And of course, we have our amazing producer, Jimmy Valdez, as always. Hello, Jimmy.
Hello.
Great to be with both of you today. Thank you. And thank you for being here. Appreciate that. So we're going to talk about kind of how to do some planning as you're starting to think about your cruise, give you some steps to walk through it. But first, I love to tell you that this show, along with everything we do at the Diz Unlimited's DCL show, the DCL fan, UO fan, all of it, brought to you by Dreams Unlimited Travel. We're experts at helping you plan your magical Disney cruise, a magical Disney theme park trip, your Universal adventure. Have you been to Epic yet? Oh, so cool. Even other cruise lines. Yes, there's no additional cost to book with Dreams Unlimited Travel, none. But we're going to give you insights about your Disney ship, your Disney excursions, your Disney park, your Universal adventure. We're going to tell you what you need to know because this is literally what we do. And by booking your cruise with Dreams Unlimited Travel, whether it's a Disney cruise or a non-Disney cruise, you're going to get a shipboard credit of up to $1,000 depending on the price of your cruise. And I always hear people say, hold on, is this free money for just booking with you guys? Yep, that's exactly the case. Doesn't cost you a dime. Not bad. Best way to get started, dreamsunlimitedtravel.com. And I always mention this by way of transparency. Elaine and I are Dreams Unlimited travel agents. Yes, this is our job. But we do this because we love Disney. Yes. And we love Disney Cruise Line. And we want you to have the best time possible. Our job here on this podcast and as agents is to give you information so you can make the best decision for you and your family. And as Disney fans know, sometimes we're much more critical than lay people, those non-Disney fans, because we love this stuff so much, right? We hope you book with Dreams Unlimited Travel. It allows us to do this podcast. It allows me to work. It's great. I love what I do. Elaine loves what she does. We love this work. But if you don't, we still hope you have an amazing trip. So, Elaine, we got a note from, and I forgot to write down her name, but we got a note from somebody using our message line, which you can leave us a message, dclshow.com/message. But she was asking, she has an 18-year-old she's taking, her 18-year-old son is coming on the cruise, and she was worried about him being bored and was asking us to do stuff about the 1820 Society. So have you taken kids? Have you had 18, 20-year-old kids on board? Have you done this at all, the 1820 Society?
I have not taken any of my kids on board when they fell within that window. However, I did have a really good friend that took my son's best friend on a cruise, actually the week of Thanksgiving, which was the time that I believe this lady was going to be going. And he was 20. And she was worried about the same exact thing. And she said that he had a really great time. I think the trick is we're going to get into specifics, but I think the trick is if you go to the very first, one or two meetups, then that's going to kind of where you can really meet some people. And then from there, they did things formally during the meetups, but he at least got connected with people that they were able to text and make plans outside of the formal events.
Right.
And then
Exactly.
they had a great,
So just to bring Kelly is the person's name. I quickly looked it up because I was embarrassed. I felt like we were talking about her behind her back. So Kelly sent in the note, and Kelly's traveling with me on for Thanksgiving on the Disney Treasure. So I'm excited to meet Kelly. And I responded back and told Kelly that I'm going to be both on the Disney Dream and where we're one of our fellow agents, Luz is going to have her 18-year-old on board. So I'm going to be pushing Luz's daughter into the 18 into 20 society to give us some inside scoop. I'm also doing a sailing into the New Year cruise on the Disney Destiny, and I'm bringing my 14-year-old son and his friend, because I'm not entertaining anymore. I have to bring a friend. So so we're going to do a show early next year that looks at kind of the teenage experience, and we'll certainly include the 18 to 20 society in that. Just to give folks an idea of what the 18 to 20 society is, this is 18 to 20-year-olds, and I so often would see it on the Disney Cruise Line Navigator app and say, what is that? Is that like something, some secret group or something? But that's essentially what it is. The big things, and as I say, we'll get into many more details when we have more experience, and particularly we'll do a follow-up after we get off the Disney Destiny. But this is for kids who have aged out of because Disney is pretty firm about the age groups in the kids clubs. So if you're 18, they're not going to let you into the kids clubs anymore. So Vibe and the Vibe Teen Club, they won't really let you in. And they are listed, they're casual gatherings, and it's not as formal. It's kind of adult free, which is nice. And it's a great way to connect with other folks. It doesn't have a specific lounge like the Vibe or Oceaneers Club or any of those, so it will be a little different. But check your local listings, check your Navigator app as you're going through, and they'll have a place where folks can get together. That was a recommendation that I kept seeing on all sorts of different places: is go early to meet folks, and then you can choose how much you use it. But as I say, we'll get a lot more details in the weeks ahead, weeks and months ahead, and early next year we're going to have a whole thing about teens and cruising, because I have one, and so we'll find out, and we'll be able to give you a lot more information. So Kelly, thanks for sending in the information. We really appreciate it, and it's great to hear from you. And I'll see you in the Treasure. Very excited. We're coming up. So let's talk a little bit about getting ready for a trip, because as I say, the holiday season is when so many people get together and say, okay, we're going to plan out for the year. What are we going to do? Elaine, when people reach out to you and say, okay, I don't really know what to do, but I think I want to do a cruise. I think I want to do a Disney cruise. What do you tell them?
There's kind of some first things that's kind of those, okay, let's fill in the blanks here. Is, when do you want to travel? And we have a lot of people that say, oh, I can travel anytime. Well, I
Survey
bet you
says,
can't.
right.
Yeah, I bet you can't. You say that, but I offer you something and you say, no, I'm not available then. So, especially a lot of people that are planning these cruises during the holidays, it's because they've got their family there, as we said. So a lot of times it's multiple staterooms. So you kind of want to get everybody together to say, okay, when's going to be, the best, even just a month. So start narrowing it down there, start narrowing it down to, where do you want to go? Where do you want to sail out of? Who all thinks that they can come? What sort of budget are we working around? Those are kind of your first things of your starting points. I like to say, when you picture your vacation in your head, what does it look like? Like, what are you seeing? Because that's what you are picturing is what is important to you. So figure out what's important to you and your family and your group.
So, and I do the same thing. I kind of have folks go through the who, what, where questions, right? Who's going to go? We need to know number of guests, adults and kids, and the ages of those kids, because they will be, pricing will be different depending on the ages. depending on how big the family is, are you all going to get in one stateroom? Are you doing multiple staterooms? We'll need to know who is in which stateroom eventually, because that makes a difference. Next, how long of a cruise do you want? 3-day, 4-day, 5-day, 7-day, longer? Are you going across are you going to cruise across the Atlantic or do a transatlantic, something like that? So that's an important criteria for us. When do you want to cruise? And we asked this, and Elaine said it exactly right. People always say, "Oh, we can do anytime." No, you can't. I'd love to think you can, but there are times that people just can't travel. And so give us what's your ideal, or, and we'll come to this in a little bit. Tell us if you can do it anytime, tell us what your criteria are for when you want a warmer time, you don't want hurricane season, you want, what are your criteria that budget may be one of the things you're looking at. So think about that. And then where you want to go, the Bahamas, Caribbean, of course, very popular, Alaska, Europe. Are you doing West Coast, California? You can now go to Singapore if you want. Where are you looking to cruise is very helpful. And then start thinking about what kind of staterooms. And Disney Cruise Line, of course, has 4 different classifications of staterooms: inside, which means inside, right? No windows; ocean view, which means you get a portal window of some kind; veranda, which is the cruise terminology for a balcony; or, of course, concierge, which is fancy. And we did a whole show looking at that. You can find that at DCL show/stateroom primer. So we can walk you through the different kinds of staterooms. So that's the initial information that we'd like to get. Oftentimes we like, are you thinking of more adventure? In which case you're going to think Europe. Or we just talked to Jimmy, our producer, just got to do a Norway cruise. Very fun, amazing. Alaska, fun, amazing. But it's not sitting on a beach. If you're more thinking of a beach thing, then it's a different experience. So that's one of the big things to start thinking about. The other question is budget. And Elaine, how do you guide folks on budget? Because this is one of the big questions that has to be addressed when you're thinking about where you're going to cruise, right?
A lot of people will have kind of that, set dollar amount that they don't want to go over in their head. And, if you're working with a travel agent, just be honest and talk to us, because I want to help you. And I
Right.
don't want to I don't want to suggest something that maybe you were thinking something a little bit more, a little bit nicer, or the opposite. I don't want to go over that set dollar amount that you are very firm that you don't want to go over. Talk to us. Like, let's talk this out. Be like, if we were between here and here, that would be my ideal.
Right.
Because then we can work with you and we can find the right thing for you. There is a lot of people, if this is your first cruise, you might have no idea how much to even expect. You might want to go on the Disney Cruise Line and just on their website and just kind of click around and say, okay, cruises to Alaska are running around this kind of a range, and cruises to the Bahamas are kind of running around this kind of range, just so you kind of know. And if you're traveling with multiple staterooms and multiple families, be, you know, realize that every family is going to have their own budget unless grandma is paying for everybody,
Right.
which of course does
In which
happen.
case, adopt me, adopt
But
me.
yeah, I know, right? And so, each family might, there might be some families that want to be in a veranda, and there might be some families that would prefer to be on an inside because they want to save some money. So talk your way through all of that and see, the thing with cruising, again, I say this a lot because it's true. It's a choose your own adventure. A lot of people will always get the absolute cheapest inside stateroom that they can possibly get because they want to use all of their money and put all of it towards these big fantastic excursions.
Yeah.
So that's kind of one of those trade-offs as well. So just
One of
remember that your cruise itself is not the only thing you're paying for. You also
Amen.
have flights and hotels and excursions, and bingo on board is a very important budget line. All of that kind of stuff. So
It's great doing these shows with Elaine because she reads my mind before we did it. But you want to start at least have an idea of the total cost, because it's all those other things. It's getting to the port, right? That's a cost. So be sure to think of not just the ship. That is certainly a key element of it, but I'm planning I'm going on a Disney adventure in June because I want to check. I'm doing it for you. I want to check it out for you. I also have a friend who lives in Singapore who I haven't seen, and so we're tying these things together. And so we'll talk more about that ship later on. But I'll tell you, the ship is the least expensive part of that trip. Flights, the 700-hour flight, is a much larger item than the cost of the going on the ship. So so be sure to think of all the different elements. The other thing we get, Elaine, is we get a lot of folks who will choose their cruise based on the ship, whether it's the Disney Magic, Disney Wonder, Disney Dream, Disney Fantasy, Disney Wish, Disney Treasure, Disney Destiny, Disney Adventure, right? People who want to be completists and they want to have been on every ship, and that's something that can make a difference too in terms of their decision factor. I had somebody who reached out the other day and said, I want one of the newest ships, but I don't want to do Bahamas or the Caribbean. And I said, that is not happening. Right?
Yeah, so when we have Federico on here, he likes to talk about your wants versus what can actually happen and how those
Right.
may not quite align.
Yeah. So right now, again, we have a catalog. We've done profiles of the Disney Magic and Disney Wonder, the Magic class ships. We've done profiles of the Dream class ships, the Disney Dream, Disney Fantasy, and we've done we're covering a lot of the newer class ships, the Disney Wish class ships, the Disney Wish, Disney Treasure, Disney Destiny, and then the errant one, the odd one out is the Disney Adventure. But we're going to have profiles of all those, so you'll be able to see if that's something that really matters to you. Here's what we can tell you is the newest class of ships go where people travel the most. That's the Bahamas and the Caribbean. I think it's more than half of cruising is done in the Bahamas and the Caribbean. So that's where the new ships are, either out of Port Canaveral or out of Fort Lauderdale. So if you want if you want the Disney Wish, Disney Treasure, Disney Destiny, that's where they're going to be. Disney Dream is mostly out of Fort Lauderdale, doing those Bahamian cruises. Fantasy out of Port Canaveral, doing Bahamian cruises, and the Disney Magic and Disney Wonder are the ones that are moving around a lot right now. So the Disney Magic is going to be based out of Galveston. So if that's more accessible to you, awesome. It's a new Disney Cruise Line is going to be spending a lot more time out of the port of Galveston. So if that's accessible to you, more accessible, great. It's going to be there. The Disney Wonder is doing its last season down under, but then it's going to be on the West Coast full time. So kind of cool, and maybe you want to hit that ship up. Those ones are just, I love those. Do you have a favorite class of ships of all of them? Or people often ask me this, Elaine, and it feels like Sophie's choice. I said, whichever ship, a Disney ship I'm on is my favorite one. But do you have a favorite ship or favorite class of ship?
That's pretty much it right there. It's like yes, I like Disney ships. That's pretty much the answer. I you know, I would I don't know. I would say it's probably the Dream and Fantasy, but I really like the Wish, and I have not been on the Treasure, and I have not been on the Destiny, obviously, but in seeing what those ships are, I would say it would probably be the Wish class, so
Yeah.
it's whichever one I'm on.
A lot more theming in those Wish class ships. They just really stepped up the theming, so it's they're amazing ships. All of them are amazing in different ways, and it's put me on a Disney ship, I'm pretty happy. Time of year to travel. There are, of course, seasonal considerations, school schedules, weather patterns. If you want a holiday themed, I've done Halloween Halloween on the high seas this year. I'm going to be doing maritime cruises this year. This really depends on, Elaine, this is one of these big things where price really can come into play, because if you're wanting a Christmas or Thanksgiving cruise, or New Year's Eve cruise, those are going to be much more expensive, aren't they?
They are, and if you're traveling with a placeholder, they're not going to be able to be used on those cruises, and they're generally sold out, so they're not offering any sort of, VGT rates or any sort of promotions or anything like that. So those are those ones. There are people I know that you, Chris, you love sailing on Disney Cruise Line during the New Year's, and there are
Yeah,
people. I have clients that go Thanksgiving every single year. I have clients that go New Year's every single year. That is their thing, and they absolutely love it. But just know that they are gonna come at a higher price. However,
correct.
the great thing is that they do their themed sailings for 2 months. So you can sail in September and be on a Halloween on High Seas cruise, and it's going to be just as great as if you were actually sailing on Halloween. And the same with the maritime cruises. You can sail in November and have a maritime cruise, and it is going to be just as great as if you were actually there on Christmas. So
And it's actually really fun because it stretches out the holidays a little bit. I'm always I was at Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween party at the Magic Kingdom one year in August. I have an August birthday, and it just feels like it's too early to be doing Halloween at that time. But Disney Cruise Line does it; they don't start it in August, so it's September and not October essentially, and it does feel more seasonal, and it's a great way to kind of get into that mood. Um, Pricing, in terms of pricing, we talked about those very expensive times. But if folks are together for the holiday season and they're talking about, okay, well, we want to start thinking about cruises. If they want to save money, what are their best options?
So basically, the rule of thumb, and this is true honestly with any cruise line, with going to Disney World, going to Disneyland, it's that if kids are out of school, the price is high. So
Right.
consider those Christmas break, consider spring break, consider Easter, consider the summertime. Those are all going to be higher priced. If kids are in school, then it's going to be lower priced. If September and January are the two lowest prices for cruising, for travel in general, because kids have just started school and they've just come back from Christmas break. So if you are looking for a deal, then look in September and January. That's going to be your cheapest time that you're going to be sailing.
Yeah. And also, the earlier that you book, the better off you are. In general, remember, we always remind you of this, but you can cancel your Disney cruise or shift the date. You can modify it at all before your pay in full date. So you have flexibility. Put that initial, and deposits now are only 10 only. It's still a lot of money, but they used to be 20%. Now it's 10% of your passenger fare is your deposit. So it makes it, I think, a lot more easier to say, okay, well, we're going to at least put money down, and then if plans change, you can do that. So definitely think. Anything else? Any other
One more
tips you'd recommend? Yeah, go.
Yeah, I was just along with that. A lot of people don't think about this, but you could essentially put your vacation on layaway. That you make that initial deposit and then say, okay, we the final payment date is in 10 months from now, so let's take that additional amount, let's break it into payments, and once a month make a partial payment, or with every paycheck make a partial payment. I have tons of clients that do this, and it just makes it so much easier to chip away at it like that than to get down to a week before your cruise and you're trying to come up with all of the money and that kind of thing. So
The nice thing, if I were to leave thoughts in people's heads, are the nice thing about cruising is it's fairly inclusive there, and we did a whole show on what's included in on your Disney ship, so you can find that if you want kind of an overview. But basically, it's pretty inclusive, and so it makes it much easier. And if you're doing a multi-generational trip, it makes it much easier because people can get around a lot easier. People can do different things. You still all come together for dinner and share those special moments. And there's still plenty of special things to share together, but you're not all having to do things. It makes the planning a little bit easier, I think. So my big thing is when you're looking at different options, be sure you're comparing apples to apples. Sometimes I get people who are like, they're not comparable pieces. So make sure you're comparing things that are similar. And as I said earlier, for me, there isn't a bad Disney ship, so I don't get wrapped around the axle on those kinds of things. You're going to have a great time. Any other thoughts you want to leave with folks' minds?
I just the one thing that I kind of say is that, it's not just your vacation, it's the rest of your family's vacation. So talk to each person, figure out what is that one thing that is truly important to them that's going to make sure that they have a great vacation, and try to take all of those into account so that everybody has a great vacation. So,
Yeah. For those YouTube people, you saw me looking out there. My dogs just ran in. They're being groomed today, so they ran in right in the middle of the show. There you go. It's all magical. Um, the So have a great holiday. It's great to get together, right? And spend some time with your family and friends. Um, if you have questions, be sure and reach out. We'd love to help you. We'd love for you to book your cruise or trip with Dreams Unlimited Travel. Literally, it helps pay for what we're doing right here. And I'll tell you, I was a Dreams client before I was a Dreams agent, so I sure understand the value. Best place to get started, dreamsunlimitedtravel.com. On the first page, if you want to book cruise, select Disney Cruise. We have World, Universal, all of them are there, but you select cruise. For cruise, the second page will ask you your itinerary and your cruise date. And if you're looking at multiple, you can later on you can say, hey, we're comparing these multiple trips, so we can work that with you. And on the second page at the very top, pull down menu of all the Dreams agents. Elaine and I get to do this and get to talk with you each week. But all the Dreams agents are really awesome, and I think you're going to have a really good experience. So you can select one, or you don't have to. If you want to select Elaine, you can just select Elaine, and it'll go right to her. But Elaine, if somebody wants to reach out to you outside of doing a quote request, how do they do that?
my email is Elaine, it's Elaine at dreamsunlimitedtravel.com.
And if you want to reach me, it's Chris V at dreamsunlimitedtravel.com. Yes, there's a Chris, so I'm Chris V. And I'm also on social media, Yensid Travel, on many social media platforms. Yensid is Disney spelled backwards. It's also the Sorcerer and Sorcerer's Apprentice. So go impress your friends about your Disney knowledge. And by the way, I mentioned earlier that Kelly reached out. You can reach out to us, dclshow.com/message. And just leave us a recorded message, nice and easy. You can do it right from your phone, and we'll answer your questions about the 1820 Society or whatever you have questions about, and give you. We'd love to hear whatever you want to share with us. We'd love to do that. Special thanks to our producer, Jimmy Valdez, and a very special thanks to you for joining us. We really do appreciate it. Depending on where you're watching, listening, hearing, whatever you're doing, leave us a review, leave us a message, thumbs up, all those kinds of things. It really, really does help us, and we really appreciate it. And if you have any topics for us, you can leave those on the YouTube comments or on the DCL Fan Facebook page. There are a bunch of people talking Disney Cruise Line. So, or you can just send us a message, DCL show. I almost said DCL Fan, DCLshow.com/message, or just send me an email. Have a good holiday. I know sometimes a family, a lot of get together time can be, it'll be fine. Breathe into it, he says. Have a great time. Safe travels, and we'll see you real soon.